right. Well, thank you,
Awesome.
Brentwood Baptist Church, for having me run this training for you tonight. I'm so excited to be with you. Uh, I wish I could be with you in person because when I do trainings and teachings, I always love to have lots of practical things, hands-on things, exciting, fun things to do. So, uh, again, thank you to Carly because she's gathered up some of the things that I would have had with you, and we're still going to do some of this practical stuff. We're going to make it work through Zoom. So, super excited to be with you. I am with Ability Ministry, and we work with churches all over the world. We've resourced churches in all 50 states and over 50 countries at this point, and so thankful to be able to help you all take a next step in your disability ministry outreach and inclusion. So, a couple objectives that I have for tonight. Basically, three things I'd like to accomplish. I'd like to help you be better equipped to share the gospel with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, moving beyond that model of care and really, taking the gospel and the good news to your friends. Second thing I want to hopefully accomplish tonight is by helping you understand how to be more effective in the way that you teach and communicate and set up your rooms. Everything that you do serves a purpose, and I just want to help you be most effective. And then the third things that I'd like to accomplish tonight is just to give you some practical tools and ideas that you can use in your ministry starting this Sunday. So that's kind of my objectives for tonight. I've got a lot of information, so I'm going to move quickly. Don't worry if you miss something. I will share the recording of this. I have the PDF that I can share with you, and I also have a handout that I can send to you as well that will go along with a lot of the stuff that we'll talk about tonight. So, enough of that. Let's hit the ground running and let's talk about how to best share the gospel with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. I've broken this down into basically three sections. First section will be for kids, second section for teens, and the last section for adults. You will see that there are a lot of similarities that can be applied to, you know, children, teens, and adults when it comes to sharing the gospel with some subtle differences. So let's jump in with sharing the gospel with children with IDD. And a lot of this is super, super simple, common sense, good stuff. Sometimes it's just good to have a reminder. When you're working with children, you want to keep it simple and concrete. Use short sentences and familiar words like Jesus loves you and Jesus is your forever friend. Obviously, keeping it simple and concrete is something that really goes across all the age groups. Another thing that you really want to do with kids is use lots of visuals and objects, pictures, story cards, sensory items help make abstract ideas become real as much as you can too. You want to repeat key truths as often as you possibly can because repetition builds understanding and confidence with kids. Connect to their emotions and their experiences. When you feel scared, Jesus is with you. And celebrate every response, whether kids are verbal, non-speaking, or they're communicating with actions. Every engagement is meaningful, and we should celebrate each and every engagement. Let's move on to some tips with sharing the gospel with teens with IDD. You want to respect their maturity. They're no longer kids, and you don't want to talk down to them. Um, you want to speak directly to them and respect the fact that they are no longer kids. Use stories and real life examples. Link the gospel to their choices, their friendships, and the real world challenges that they face. Invite them uh, to ask questions and invite them to, really experience the awe and wonder of the good God that we serve. Allow space for curiosity and honesty, and faith grows through exploration. We'll talk a little bit about the importance of discussion when it comes to teaching. But this is super, super important. Allow time for questions. Focus on belonging and purpose. Help them to see that they're created by God on purpose for a purpose. Again, this is kind of this transition from being a child to a teen and moving into adulthood. We want people to start discovering what their purpose is, what their gifting is, and help them to see that they have something to offer. They're not just a recipient of our ministry efforts. We're empowering them to be ministers of the gospel. And that really needs to start when kids are teens and even younger. Offer ways to respond with prayer, with art, with serving others. These are all powerful ways that teens can express their faith. And you want to engage in as many different types of ways that they can engage their faith. You don't want to do the same thing every week because learning styles are different, preferences are different. There's just so many good ways that you can engage. All right, let's move forward with sharing the gospel with adults. Uh, we want to honor their spiritual capacity. Everyone can understand God's love, just not always in the same way. So we want to, honor the fact that they are adults. We don't want the same thing as before. We don't want to talk down to them. We want to always assume competence. You always want to assume the best when you're teaching. You don't want to teach an adult like they're a child. So speak clearly and respectfully. We want to avoid church jargon, use plain and relational language as much as we can. We want to avoid using words like sanctification, and different things like that. We there's not necessary to confuse things anymore. We have to. So another thing with adults, we want to emphasize relationships over rules. The gospel is about knowing Jesus, not just passing a test. So we want to really drive into the fact that we can have a relationship, a real relationship with God, and that God loves us, and He gives us room to grow in that relationship. This is one of these things that really will touch all age groups, but we want to engage all of the senses, whether it be music, touch, movement. These things can help truth sink in beyond just words. And again, we'll get into some very specific things on how you can do that to be an effective teacher. And another thing, as I mentioned before, as much as you can, encourage participation. Let adults pray, let them read scripture, let them serve in ministry in your church. Inclusion is discipleship. As much as we can allow people to live out that faith, they've spent, a good deal of their life, hearing the lessons. It's time to live the lessons, and we want to give them opportunities to do so. All right, so that's just a little bit about sharing the gospel with kids, with teens, and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Let's take this lesson for what we're going to do from this point moving forward, and let's make this active. Let's make this fun. Let's make this practical. Okay, because I want you to have tools that you can use as early as this coming Sunday. What we're going to do moving forward is we're going to pretend that I am teaching the greatest lesson you have ever heard on Noah and the ark and the flood and God's promises. So you're amazed by my amazing teaching about Noah and the ark. All right. And what we're going to do next is all going to be centered around the story of Noah and the ark and the flood and God's promises. Okay. So let's jump into making this fun, active, interactive. And let me tell you what I do when I teach. If I were there with you, sitting right in front of me would be this very treasure chest. I have this treasure chest here in my office. It goes everywhere with me. When I teach, it goes with me. The reason that it goes with me everywhere I go is because it captures the attention of everybody in the room. When you walk in as the teacher with a treasure chest that is locked up, everybody wants to know what's in the treasure chest. It is a great tool to help keep the attention of everyone in the room. And this doesn't matter if this is children, teens, or adults, it works with all ages. Everybody wants to know. And you instantly have a bargaining chip with everybody in the room. And you can say, oh, I'd love to share with you what's in the treasure chest. But I can only do that if you do a great job today listening and interacting with the lesson. If you can do that, we will choose someone to open the treasure chest and we'll see what's inside. So I love this just strategy of grabbing the people's attention before you even start teaching. Give them a reason to want to stay engaged. So if I was with you, you would see the treasure chest, you would see that it's locked up, and I'd give you an opportunity to open it. All right. So here's where we're going to start getting interactive. I need two people in the room that love art to volunteer in an artist masterpiece contest. All right. So who's going to be my volunteers tonight for this artist masterpiece contest? All right. I see some people moving around. All right. We got two people. All right. So Carly, I think has some poster board and some markers or some big post. All right, so she's going to get that set up. So let me give you the instructions as she's getting that set up for you. Here's what I want you to draw. I want you to draw, you can do this with paint, you can do this with markers, you can do this with colored pencils, it doesn't matter. But here's what I want you to draw. I want you to draw the global flood. All right, so you have to show that water is covering 100% of the earth. All right. And I want you to show the ark, Noah's Ark, floating safely on top. All right. When we're done with our lesson today, we will come back to you. All right. And we will have the group judge who they think it has the best masterpiece of a global flood with the ark floating safely on top. So when I'm teaching, with different groups, and we're going to go through a whole bunch of different hands-on practical things here. But when I'm teaching, I only pick one. You don't want to overwhelm people with 10 different hands-on activities. I only pick one activity. So again, we're going to see three or four different ones here tonight. But I would encourage people to come up to volunteer. And when I'm doing this, if I'm doing the artist masterpiece, I'll have two different easels and I'll put them on either side of the stage where the easel is facing the crowd so people can see as people are drawing. And I just let people draw as I teach. And it's actually not a distraction. It actually, I think, enhances the lesson because everybody wants to see, what's being created. It's a fun thing. So, all right, our artists are off and drawing. All right, let's look at our different activity. Remember, if you're doing this on a Sunday morning or Wednesday night, whenever you're teaching, pick one activity for the evening. Don't overwhelm people. All right, the next thing I need I need a volunteer that loves wordsmithing. You love words, whether that be Scrabble, whether that be word searches, whether it be crossword puzzles. I need somebody in the room that is comfortable working with some Scrabble tiles. Okay, here is your instructions. I want you to pick out some keywords from our lesson today on Noah and the ark and God's promises. So as I'm teaching, remember we're pretending here. As I'm teaching, I want you to pick out some keywords that you'll share with us when our lesson time is over. All right? We're good with our Scrabble volunteer?
Yeah,
okay. All right, awesome. All right, here is our next practical activity. And Carly, I don't know, did you get pipe cleaners or wiki sticks?
Pipe cleaners, pipe
Pipe
cleaners.
cleaners. Okay. All right. Either one works just fine. Um, I think wiki sticks are kind of cooler. Pipe cleaners feels kind of older, but both work perfectly fine. For this, I need two different volunteers to come up and kind of divide the pipe cleaners evenly. You could take them back to your table. Um, and while I am teaching this amazing lesson on Noah and the ark, today we're going to be talking about how Noah made the ark and how God brought animals two by two to the ark. So during today's lesson, I would like you to make pairs of animals, and you can make as many pairs of animals as you possibly can while I'm teaching. When I'm done teaching the lesson, you're going to share with the group your pairs of animals, and we'll see who has the most creative animals. All right? Or
Two people.
are we good with our pipe cleaner animal volunteers?
Yeah. Did you take half of that and who's gonna take the other half? That's all I got. Who's the second person for pipe cleaners? Okay. Great. There you go. I got Jennifer and Libby. Okay, yeah, that's great, Ryan. We are ready to move on to
All
the
right.
next.
All right, we're ready to move on. All right. And I hope you see what I'm doing. I'm having people engage with the lesson on multiple different levels with creativity, with hands-on, keeping people focused and motivated. These are great activities that you could do if you've got that extra squirrely person in your room. You give them something creative to do and to work on while you're working. All right, our next one. For this one, I just want one volunteer, somebody that loves Legos. And believe it or not, this is another one that spans all ages. Kids love Legos, teens love Legos, and adults love Legos because they grew up with Legos. So I need a person that is going to volunteer with the stack of Legos that we have in the room. And here's what you're going to do. You are going to do your best Lego creation of Noah's Ark. All right. So you create Noah's Ark. If you want to make animals that we can see inside of it, that's fine. If you want to make Noah and his family, that's great. However, you imagine Noah's Ark looking. I would like you to create that while I'm teaching this lesson on Noah's Ark. All right. So everybody that's got a volunteer position that's working on these different activities, just keep working and listen as we move forward. I'm going to leave this story of Noah for a moment, and we're going to get into strategies on how to best be effective when it comes to planning and implementing whatever lesson you're teaching. All right. I think this learning pyramid may be the most important thing that you'll see tonight. If there's only one thing that you capture tonight, this is probably what I want you to capture. All right. This is the learning retention pyramid. This teaches us as leaders and teachers how to most effectively communicate and teach in lessons. And so, when I am writing curriculum, I'm thinking about this learning pyramid because I want to design curriculum in a way that works its way down the pyramid as much as we can. If you look at the top of the pyramid, you can quickly see that people remember less than 10% of what they hear in a lecture. All right. That's not good. It's not good retention. Unfortunately, that is the style of probably 90% of every sermon you hear. That's why when you walk away from church, you don't really remember much of it. Okay. People, as we work our way down the pyramid, people will remember 10% of what they read. All right. So that's why it's important when you're teaching to allow people to have opportunities to read. People will remember 20% of what they hear and what they see. All right. So if you're doing more than lecture, if you have visuals, if you have audio, people are going to remember 20% of that. Still not great retention, but we're getting better. People will remember 30% of what they see. So a demonstration would be like an object lesson, something along those lines when you're trying to bring the story to life in a way other than just talking about it. Okay. Here's where you get the biggest jump. Uh, People will remember 50% of what they discuss. That's why I said earlier discussion and allowing people space to ask questions and answering questions is so important because they're going to remember 50% of what they talk about. So that's why in our curriculum and when we encourage people in their teaching, uh, do less time talking and allow people to have the time to discuss what you're learning. And then 75% is remembered when people are practicing what they're doing. So all of our people that are creating art, Scrabble messages, Lego creations, pipe cleaner animals, you're probably going to remember what you created as you were learning this lesson about Noah. And then obviously the greatest way to remember something is by teaching it yourself. All right. So give people opportunities to teach and to lead. All right. And I'm going to help you see how you can do all of these things as you are teaching. All right. And it starts, for me at least, when you think about having a successful teaching experience. For me, it starts with the setup of the room and how you are preparing. All right. Let me give you some specific examples of this. And I think this goes across all ages, children, teens, adults. I always feel like tables are better than rows of chairs. Rows of chairs don't they don't encourage discussion. They encourage you to sit and listen to somebody lecturing. All right, churches are set up in rows of chairs. Classrooms are set up in tables and chairs. And I think it's so much better because you have the ability to have discussion, you have the ability to build relationships. And depending on what age group you're working with, especially whether this be teens and adults, my encouragement is for every table you have a table leader. And I guess this works with all ages. Every table should have a table leader, that volunteer that is facilitating the discussion around the table, helping with the activities, helping people find scriptures that they're looking up in their Bibles, doing any of the hands-on stuff. So that person's going to get to know everybody at the table to build those relationships because we are all creatures of habit. And whether we have assigned seats or not in church, we're going to find that same table week to week with our friends. So have that table leader, build those relationships, assist with discussion, help people stay on track, learn what's going on in their lives, pray for them. So much can be done around a table that can't be done in a row. All right. The next thing I encourage people to do, regardless of the size of the classroom and the size of the group, is use a microphone. All right, this may seem awkward if you've got like a really small group of like, just three, four people, but using a microphone is really important, especially when you consider if someone in the room has a hearing impairment. When you use a microphone, you make the gospel accessible to them because they can hear you. Another reason why you use a microphone, regardless of size of group, is the fact that a microphone shows who has the authority in the room. All right. People will instantly be drawn to it. Another reason to use a microphone is you have the opportunity to share the microphone with people. So again, you're giving people incentive to pay attention and to participate. Obviously, there's always a danger in sharing the microphone because every kid likes to yell in the microphone. But you can police that. But the advantages of using a microphone versus not using a microphone just far outweigh that. It doesn't matter if you have that teacher that says, I have a teacher's voice, that's great. But still use a microphone. So it's just so much better when it comes to helping people hear the message. There's a reason why every school teacher now wears a necklace with a microphone on it with the built-in speakers in the classrooms. Another thing that I encourage in every classroom where you can allow it is to use either large TV screens, projectors, or screens where you can have the lesson that's visual. Remember, as you're working your way down the pyramid, the audio and the visual are super important for engagement. When you have that projector up there, again, you're drawing the eyes of the kids, the teens, and the adults to where they can engage with the gospel. So it's super important. Another thing that we're doing here tonight, and that you can do in your classrooms based on different technologies that you have available to you, is using closed captions. Uh, this is one of the great things that technology provides for us. I know when I'm teaching at First Christian, we have anywhere from 80 to 110 adults in our adult class. And whenever we've got 100 adults in the room, inevitably we've got two or three people that need that closed captioning. Otherwise, they're just sitting and smiling because they can't hear you. They're glad to be there with their friends, but they're not hearing the gospel because they need the closed captions to be able to read and to engage with it. So technologically, a lot of different platforms provide live closed captioning. All you need is Wi-Fi to be able to utilize that. So super important. Another thing, when you're using slides, use dark backgrounds with light colored text. That's better for an individual that might have a visual impairment to better be able to see the words on the screen. Obviously, the larger the font, the better people will be able to see it, especially if they have a visual impairment. Um, and another important thing as you're thinking about the visuals, if you can use pictures and text, that's probably ideal. In a lot of situations, if you just use pictures, that's okay too. Because while someone might not be able to read, they still will be able to engage with seeing a picture on a screen. So picture and text always probably the best case. But yeah, keep things visually in front of people. Super, super important when you're trying to communicate a lesson or an idea. All right. And this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. The more time you put into lesson preparation, the more everyone will get out of it. All right. If you have a teacher in the room or multiple teachers in the room that take the lesson home and work on it for a couple hours during the week, um, those people are absolute solid gold, and should be treated as such because so often we're guilty of picking up the lesson material 15 minutes before kids come in. So take the time. You'll be so much more effective in communicating a clear message with people if you do so. All right. And then after you've done all that preparing, you've got to take inventory of how your friends are doing that morning. There are different resources that you can use, like how are you feeling today? Like poster, with graphics that people can say, yeah, well, this is how I'm feeling today. Because sometimes, regardless of how much preparation you do, uh, the way people come in to your classroom may change what you need to do. So you have to be flexible, and depending on how your friends are doing that day, you got to be willing to adjust on the fly and be present with people and engage with whatever is going on in their lives, and that might become the richest lesson that you can provide for them because it's real to them. All right. And then I just want to encourage people, have fun. If you're not having fun in disability ministry, you're probably not doing it right. And I know that I'm like super, super biased, but truly, disability ministry is the greatest ministry, the most fun ministry that you could possibly be involved in, because it is purely the most unpredictable ministry out there. Anything could and will happen during your lesson. And it's just the more that you can embrace the fun and the chaos, the better things will be. Learn how to laugh at yourself. Learn how to tell funny stories about yourself that you might think, man, this is embarrassing. The more that you can laugh at yourself, the more fun that you can have with your group, the more people will connect with you. All right. And then after you've done all of those things, my encouragement again is just get out of the way. The more of your lesson that you can give away, the better it will be, and the higher the learning retention will be. So let others read anytime you have a scripture. If you're working through a lesson, you should not be reading. If there are people in the room that can read and want to read, let them read. Um, if you're opening with prayer and closing with prayer, shouldn't be you, should be someone in the room praying because it's such good practice for them. And it allows them to actively minister. Uh, Group discussion, again, we build in questions often with our lessons. And so should you to just stop. It helps you to understand if people are tracking and how well they're understanding what's going on, especially have discussion questions that are allowing people to take the lesson and personalize it for them. How does this lesson, um, relate to me in my everyday life? And then again, do as much active learning as possible. We've got active learning going on in the room. I'm going to show you a few more strategies to help you have some more tools in your tool belt when it comes to active learning. One of the best things that you can do if you have a story that's conducive to being acted out, um, allow people to act it out. You can narrate it, or you can have someone else narrate it. Um, but yeah, turn it over to the drama kings and queens in your room. Allow them to have the stage. Allow them to actively teach the lesson by acting it out. I guarantee you, the rest of the room will pay more attention to their friends acting out the lesson than they will ever pay attention to you teaching it. So it's a win for everybody, and they'll remember, what it is that they acted out. So just another great strategy. Here's another strategy that we created based on a situation at another church where we had an individual come to us and say, we've got this one like super hyperactive kid. He's always like up in the business of the teacher. He won't sit down. He's just pretty wild. And we thought, okay, what can we do rather than try to get him to settle down? What if we channeled all that energy into making him the head coach? This is obviously a kind of a football metaphor, but what we decided to do is come up with this idea of making somebody in the classroom. You can do this with any classroom. Probably works better with teens and adults, but and depending on how young your group is, but have that person that's like super active be the head coach. So what does the head coach do? The head coach walks around with a clipboard like every head coach does and a pen, and you can see on the clipboard there, or maybe you can't, but it has assignments. So the head coach is recruiting people to say the opening prayer, recruiting people to read scripture, recruiting people to help lead with worship, recruiting people to be a greeter in the room for the day, and doing different tasks. So the head coach's job is to recruit people and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then in any sport, you also have referees. So you can assign people to be referees in the room. That's why the yellow flags are there. And the referees can throw a flag on somebody if they are out of bounds. So people can self-police, how their behavior is. And to make it fun and to make it sure it's not like hurtful towards anyone else in the room, encourage the people that are referees to throw flags on the teacher too, and the leaders too, if they're getting too silly or out of hand. So another great way to try to channel some of that energy in the room. If you're interested in this, we have it as a free download in our store. Another thing that you can do as far as active learning goes, and if you use our curriculum, you see this every single week. We teach the memory verse in sign language. You could do this with more than just a memory verse. If you've got somebody in the room, and again, just an example of our class at our church, we've got a couple people um, in our class that are a part of a sign language praise choir in our community. So they actually know a lot of sign language. So if we're singing songs together and they know the signs for it, I have them come up and stand in front of the group and sign all those songs. I have people, anytime we're working on the memory verse, come on up front, show off your sign language, encourage people to use that sign language because it's a great way, again, for active learning and for communicating the gospel to all kinds of people. Another thing that we do to make like Bible memorization active is we do what are called scripture scrambles. So you're typing out all the words in the memory verse, cutting them up, throwing them in a plastic bag, shuffling them up, throwing them on a table, and saying, "All right, we're going to say see which table can assemble the memory verse the quickest." So if you're learning it in sign language, if you're reading it together as a group, if you're assembling it, using the scripture scrambles, I can guarantee you that if you have one memory verse a month, by week two, everybody in the room is going to have it memorized, and it's just such a great thing when God teaches us to hide, God's word in our hearts. This is important not only for typical neurotypical people; it's important for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities too, and they have the ability to do so. We just sometimes need to give them the tools necessary for that. All right. So let's get back to our lesson on Noah's Ark. All right. We've had some people participating in creating some art, creating some, doing some wordsmithing on our stuff, creating some animals. All right. So, how are we doing in the room? Has everyone completed their tasks that they've been working on?
I'm gonna bring, this one is, see if it shows. This is Bill.
Okay.
Bill,
Nice,
would you
Bill.
like to
All
tell
right.
us about your artwork?
Oh, sure. Sure. So I'm not sure how many two three-story buildings were back in the Italy.
Yes, skyscrapers.
But those are representing the buildings and the towns and so forth at the bottom. And then the rain just pouring down, it rained and rained and rained, with some lightning mixed in there. And then just at the first level, oh, this is gonna be a bad rainstorm. And then it just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming until the whole world was just covered up.
There we go.
It's
good.
All right. Let's give Bill a round of applause for his great artwork.
Miss
All right,
Lucy will be holding up Rachel's. Rachel, would you like
Okay.
to tell us about yours? You wanna stand up and
Tell us what you're thinking.
Yeah, tell us about yours.
This is Jesus' blood, and so that's like it has to be blood.
Like that.
That's a cross.
The cross, yeah.
There's a bucket of blood coming out of the ground. And a heart and an egg, a heart. It's mean love and huggins.
Beautiful. Very nice. That's really great.
All right, let's give Rachel. Is it Rachel? Give her a round of applause. Awesome. Awesome. Very good. So if we're going to vote in the room for Bill and for Rachel, I feel like it's going to be a tough decision for everybody. So if it's okay with you, I would like to suggest that we have two winners tonight. Is that okay with you guys? All right, let's have two winners tonight. That sounds like a good thing. Okay. All right, the next thing that we need is our person that was working on the Scrabble tiles, taking copious notes, picking out keywords from our lesson on Noah. Why don't you tell us what you learned by showing us some of your Scrabble tiles?
Yeah, yeah, you describe it. Don't worry, I took a picture with it falls down, I'll still have to worry. Okay, you tell everybody what your thoughts were. Well, I'll just read to you what, I mean, it was, my thoughts were all the words that go with the story of the Noah's Ark. And
Right.
so, you know, you run out of some tiles, you can't use all the words you want to.
That's
impressive.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
So we had wet, we had art, we had land, outside, Noah, promise, rain, 40, flood, hairs, rainbow, and dove.
Wow, that is awesome. Great job. You took really good notes on the lesson, and chances are you're really going to remember this lesson. So great job. All right, let's move on. I think we have our what was it? Our pipe cleaner animals that are going two by two in the arc. So let's have our artists show off and tell about their pipe cleaner animals.
I have a brown giraffe and an orange one. And.
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
Long, unfortunately.
And I did two giraffes also.
Nice.
Yeah. I did, well, you did ducks, I did turtles.
Oh, cool.
Good.
And then I did snakes too because it was easy.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. Very good. So the giraffes were very popular tonight. So very cool. So again, a super simple way of helping people engage with a lesson. All right. And the
Sorry, we got distracted, Ryan. We're just looking at the animals.
oh, we still have more animals. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry.
Oh, you were all good. We noticed there was some llamas, monkeys, turtles, ducks, giraffes, and
Oh,
snakes.
wow. That's impressive. Can somebody run a llama up to the camera so I can see the llama? I would love to see the llama.
Yes, come right here. Here's the camera right here, so he'll
All
see
right.
you if you hold it lower.
There we go. There it is.
Just a little.
Okay, okay. I see it. I see it. That's nice. That's nice. All right, let's give our pipe cleaner artist a round of applause.
Yes, we'll show him right here. Show him your monkey.
Oh my goodness. I love the monkey. I love the monkey. That is great. That is absolutely great. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, round of applause for our artist. They did a great job. Such a great job. All right, and I think the last thing that we have to see is our Lego Master Builder. Come show us the ark.
So just let Carly know, I have really limited Legos in there, so. Where's the camera, right here?
Yeah, don't move around where you go. So if
Go
you
back.
see a little thing,
Go back.
it's showing your legs. So yeah,
There you go.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh,
So,
nice, nice.
So I've got Noah up here steering the ship, all right? And then, just kind of built up the sides, which was kind of hard. This is Noah's first mate, which I know he really didn't have, but I needed to put another something on this thing. And then, we have, the little ramp for the animals to go up, and we have a shark that's on his way up.
Nice.
That's the only animal I had in my list of Legos. And then there's a little dinghy on the back here for any animals that are bad. They get sent to the dinghy and have to go behind the animals.
Here, Kathy. It's like right on your legs. So you're right.
Okay, well, it's all in part of.
There you go.
All right, I love it. I love it. All right, let's give our Lego Master Builder a round of applause. Great job. Great job. So these are just some easy practical ways that you can engage in lessons. Again, when you're doing these, you only want to do one per week. You don't want to overwhelm people. We've seen all the great creations that you guys have done. So now let me take you to the end of a lesson and give you a couple different options on how you guys can keep people engaged, even though that you're at the end of your lesson, that you're end of the time. Maybe you've got extra time. Maybe the preacher is going long today, and you need some different things to do to keep some kids engaged. My encouragement, jump onto Amazon and buy the biggest blow up dice that you can. You can obviously use it with small dice, but come up with the biggest blow up dice that you can. Keep them in the room. And if you're just using one die, you're going to have six different questions, review questions for like Noah and the ark and the flood. You roll the die and depending on what number you land on, is the question that you have to answer. So, again, it's a way to continue that conversation, to review your lesson. Another great idea when it comes to like reviewing at the end of a lesson, if you've got extra time on your hands, uh, is to do it by tic-tac-toe. So divide the group up into two different teams. There's a couple different ways that you can do this. If you've got a window that you can do this on, it's super fun, and you've got like the squishy like things that stick to the window. You can have people throw those on a big tic-tac-toe board on the window. They only get to do that if they answer their question correctly, though, and you can see who would win first. A more accessible way of doing that is by taping a huge tic-tac-toe board on the floor. So even if you have someone with physical disability and you're doing hand over hand assistance, you can have them hold that tic-tac-toe bean bag in their hand and you can drop that into the space. So a great way to again continue that conversation, review the lesson, especially if you have extra time on your hands. All right, so let's get back to the treasure box, right? We're imagining that I brought a treasure box with you. We just taught a lesson on Noah and the ark. You guys did a great job of listening. So I have a gift for each and every one of you. So we're pretending, obviously, because I'm not there to give you a gift. But last time I taught the lesson about God's promises and the rainbow. Uh, I had in my treasure chest rainbow glasses. So I bought these on Amazon. They're like, a couple cents per, set of glasses. When you put them on and you look up at any source of light, all you see is that kind of burst of rainbow colors in your line of sight. So you're teaching a lesson about the rainbow, then you're allowing people to experience seeing the rainbow, and then you're reminding them when they see the rainbow, it's a reminder of God's promise to never flood the earth again. So again, you're engaging as many senses as you can, and you're sending them home with a gift, which is helping them to remember it. So it's a great way. And when you're doing your lesson preparation, depending on what you're teaching on, look up on Pinterest for ideas. Look on Amazon for cheap things that you can buy and give away. It goes so far to bringing the message to life and helping people remember things. It's always worth it. Another example of how I've used the treasure chest when I taught a lesson on how God treasures us. We're His masterpiece, His creation that He just loves. Again, went on Amazon, bought these tiny treasure chests. They look big on the screen here, but they're like about, I don't know, like 2 inches wide. And then I, printed up "Treasured by God," which was the message I was talking about. And God bless my parents, they love to help me. So I said, hey, can you cut out 100? Actually, I think the one time I taught this, I had 500. Um, can you cut out 500 messages and glue them in the bottom of these treasure chests? So I had my big treasure chest full of tiny treasure chests, so everybody got to take that home as a reminder that they're treasured by God. So again, Amazon, it's a few cents for each little trinket that you come up with. If you're doing this and you're working on a series of lessons, save it for like the last week, so they got something to kind of take it home with. So, gift reminders are always great. If you had fun with some of the things that we did tonight, if you want a few more ideas, we have created this resource called Free. It's not called free, it's called Fun Time Fillers. I'm sorry. But it is free. And it has just a bunch of different ideas on it that you can use in your classroom to not only fill time, but help to make lessons come to life. So you can download that for free using the QR code, or again, I can send a link to Carly when we're finished. So I've had a fun time with y'all. I know I'm up against our time frame, but I wanted to leave you with a way to get a hold of me if you have questions. If you want me to kind of email you some resources directly, I'd be happy to do that. Ryan at abilityministry.com is the best way to get a hold of me. There's some different ways that you can find us online, and that is my cell phone. So you can text me if you'd like. Don't call me after 9 p.m. because I'm old and I like to go to bed. But seriously, it's been great. Been great being with y'all tonight. Carly, I think we were going to leave a little bit of time maybe for some questions and answers. We can do that now, but just wanted to say thank you again for inviting me to be a part of your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. You'll probably see me waving over here somewhere. I teach primarily, we do worship for like 20-25 minutes, and then we come into a classroom environment. And we do a lesson. Right now, our church is kind of in the middle of the heavy stuff, Judges, Joshua, things like
Hmm.
that. The more, call it, more simple stories from the Bible. And it's tough, given our teens and adults that are in our older teens and adults, because it's pretty deep stuff. So what would be your general recommendation for, like you say, we do get into the discussion edge of the pyramid and the visual, but a lot of that
Hmm.
visual really just me kind of gerrymandering around and everything, as
Hmm.
opposed to, I'm gonna tell Carly, I need a whiteboard. I must have a whiteboard in class.
Love it.
That's a definite. I had that thought. So what would you be your thought when you're talking about deep subject matter? We got to keep
Hmm.
it light.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, there's some crazy stuff. If you're working through Judges, actually, Judges is probably one of my favorite sections of the Bible, just because there's so much wild and crazy stuff, and I think leaning into that, especially if you've got like teens and adults in that age group, helping them to see that the Bible is wild, crazy, and amazing. It doesn't always make sense, so that's why you kind of discuss it and work through it. But yeah, like I mentioned, kind of on the very front end, you're going to come up with you know your main points in every lesson. You've got to have a main point. That main point should never be more than two sentences long. Um, when you know the main point of what you're teaching on, you can repeat that main point multiple times. So if you got a tough lesson, and you're working it down to one main idea, focus on different ways that you can communicate that main idea. And yeah, so if you're working through Judges as a church, I'm assuming. When you mentioned the church is doing it, you guys are all kind of in alignment, teaching the same stuff. Uh, is that correct?
Yeah, our children's ministry, our embrace ministry, we're kind of
Okay.
all same lessons
All
right
right.
now.
Okay.
And
All right. So whoever's um leading that teaching, I would ask them, what is the main point that you want to get across in this lesson. That way you don't have to try to figure out what that is. So if the pastor is teaching on the lesson and like the whole church is in alignment, I would ask for the main points ahead of time, and I would work on developing ideas on how to communicate those main points because certainly they've got that developed in advance. They're not developing that on a Saturday night, before they preach on a Sunday morning. So yeah, find out what their main points are, and come up with creative ways to communicate that. This may sound like cheating, but if you've got something that's really tough, like a tough, deeper subject matter, uh, go to ChatGPT and say, help me communicate. I mean, you can give it the direct command. Help me to come up with creative ways to communicate to teenagers with intellectual and developmental disabilities this story lesson. Give it chapter and verse, and see what it says. Believe it or not, ChatGPT is really, really good when it comes to developing ideas. So that would be a practical way that, if you've got something that you're not finding anything on Pinterest, you're not finding anything on Google, ask a very specific question to ChatGPT and see what they come up with. They're not always right, but it might give you a good way to start generating some ideas.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
One thing I wanted to point out, sadly, I don't have in the back classrooms, but these front two classrooms are equipped with microphones. And so for whoever's in the front two classrooms,
You mean these two?
yeah, these two front ones, it always has a microphone. So I'm gonna start doing that. That was a really
That's
great
good.
point, Ryan. Like I have it in here. Let me pull it
Yeah,
out.
use it. Use it.
Having these little kids like, hey, look at me. Instead I use the microphone or like have the mic. Get their attention.
I didn't know there was one.
Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How, I have a group of middle school and high school boys, and we have a schedule, especially for two of the kids, they just need more structure. So how would you start kind of weaning in ideas that you said, because I love all the ideas to get them more engaged. But
Mhm.
how do you get it in a way that it's not very surprising for those students?
So did I hear that you're using a visual schedule with them?
Yeah, we have a schedule split up with time parts, just because one student is very timely and needs to see that concretely.
Yeah. So I would customize their visual schedules. Obviously, routine is like super important. They need to know what's happening, and getting used to that schedule is important. So I would work into the schedule, say, either before lesson time or after lesson time. I would work in hands-on activity, whatever you want to name it, whatever you got scheduled for the day. So when they pick up that visual schedule, or if you have it posted on the wall, they're gonna be like, "Whoa, that's different. What's that about?" And you can say, "Hey, we're gonna try making the Bible story come to life today, uh, and here's when we're gonna do it, and here's how long it's gonna last, and just say, hey, we're gonna start doing the best we can to make the Bible come to life, because it's more fun when we can experience what we're learning rather than just hear about it. So yeah, customize that visual schedule, post it on the wall, or if it's printed, keep it in front of them, and just make sure they understand what you're trying to accomplish, and work with it. Some things will work better than others, but as long as they see it on there and they've got some clear expectations of what's going to happen and how long it's going to happen, I'd be willing to bet that they'll enjoy getting their hands dirty, for a figure of speech, I guess, to get their hands dirty in the gospel.
Thank you.
Well, I agree off of that, Lucy. I had so many ideas, but then I try to remind myself that like, maybe just one at a time.
One at a time is good. Very good idea. One, limit it. Yep.
Not just like throw out my whole playbook and start something fresh. I get crazy. So, well, who else is inspired to do something fun and different and test something out? Yeah, definitely. Ellie? Yeah, your turn.
Oh, yeah. Do we want to say, like,
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank you
yes.
to Ryan.
Oh,
I thought you were doing that. Ryan, thank you. Sorry, I'm like backing up.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Here with us so much. This was so helpful, and it's always helpful, even for some of us that may have been doing it for a while, just to hear. We've heard you speak before at conferences, but I'm so glad a lot of our volunteers got to hear you speak and just get some fresh ideas. And I'm sure we will continue to be in touch.
Awesome. Yeah. Once again, thank you for letting me be a part of your group. It's an honor and a privilege. And it's just my prayer that as you put in that little extra prep time, that God will bless that and help you guys truly bring the good news to people in ways that they can hear it and experience it. So many blessings to you all. And thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you.